Developing news coming out in roughly the last 48 hours as today, December the 30th, 2024, headlines are coming out that are sharing with us that the bird flu has mutated, and experts are now warning about concerns of person-to-person spread. Now, take a look at the latest headlines, as I mentioned in the last couple of days. First severe human case of the bird flu in U.S. shows concerning mutation, the CDC says. They are warning about this mutated virus. Officials say the bird flu likely mutated inside a Louisiana resident. The patient has a severe case of the virus. And also coming out from Fox News, Dr. Mark Siegel on the bird flu. California worries me due to the spread of the disease in cattle, and we're hearing that this is spreading into humans all over the U.S., and at this time, we're hearing there is no person-to-person spread. They're saying the risk of this is low, but they're very concerned because just recently, in this case in Louisiana, I'm going to share with you the video footage, they are saying that it is now mutated, and they believe that it is one step away from a person-to-person spread. And they are saying, I'm going to share with you what's coming out from the experts, and you let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but that there is no reason for this to turn into pandemic 2025, as they're saying that we have vaccines in place to get ahead of this. But I know right now vaccinations are a very touchy topic for a lot of people. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that this should be something that should be done? Getting vaccines for the bird flu? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, yes or no. But I'm going to share with you the latest as they're saying that it is mutating and there's concerns. And I already know it just feels like the vast majority of society at this time has, post-traumatic stress essentially from COVID-19. And they literally say, I'm going to share with you the video footage. The experts say, did we not learn our lesson from the last pandemic? But a lot of people are saying the exact same thing. Have we not learned our lesson from the last pandemic? Are we going to allow this? Let me know your thoughts. Are you going to be taking a vaccine for the bird flu? Now, they're saying this is different from COVID-19, that we have had this for quite some time, that this vaccination is proven, it's okay, it's not a rushed situation. Yet, like I said, a lot of people feeling a lot of PTSD from COVID-19, and a lot of people saying they might not be up to this. But the experts are warning that if people do not do this, that we could be looking at a repeat. I'm going to share with you the video footage. I know a lot of people very concerned about this, feeling like, hey, another pandemic being pushed upon society. Coming out in the United States, they're saying they believe that we are very close to a mutation that could go person to person, as we have been seeing this spread, specifically in the United States with birds. It is now in cattle. It's all across California. 37 human cases of people contracting this from animals. And they're saying, we saw this before with COVID-19 with, I believe it was the bats, if I remember correctly, in China. And then it started going person to person and spread around the world. And we literally had a global shutdown due to COVID-19. But now they're saying, are we going to be seeing that with bird flu as things are ramping up? We've been seeing this in the headlines recently, and now we're hearing that it is mutating. So, like I said, I've got a lot of video footage that has been coming out in roughly, like I said, the last 48 hours. I'm going to play it for you so you can see it for yourself. Here on the channel, I just give you the updates. This is what's going on. This is what's in the headlines. And right now we're hearing that it is increasing the concerns for bird flu with this mutation that they are saying they found in a person that had contracted it. I believe it was from cattle in Louisiana. This individual, they're saying, has a mutated strain, and they are concerned about the person-to-person spread that could be coming as the virus has mutated. So I am seeing a lot of people saying no, they are not going to be taking any vaccines for the bird flu. But let me share with you the latest so that way you can see it for yourself. And if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a second, hit the like button. Here on the channel, I report the latest news. I give it to you no bias, unfiltered. I just give you the latest information. All the articles are going to be linked down in the description below so you can read them for yourself. You can see that all of these have come out in the last 48, 72 hours roughly. And I'm going to share for you the video footage coming out from different media sources, Fox News, CNN, Face the Nation, different ones, so you can see what they're saying as the CDC is warning right now about the bird flu coming out. And experts are warning, saying, hey, we don't need to have another pandemic in 2025. if this goes person to person. But I'm going to share with you the latest so you can see it for yourself. And again, if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a second, hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? I'll keep you up to speed on everything so you know exactly what is taking place. Put it on the screen, read right from it, cite all the sources, and also in addition to that, additional resources linked down below. If you'd like to get your own medical supply kits and have backups and things ready, lifesavervault.com is linked in the description below. And in addition to that, we also have had a lot of people asking about the iodide potassium tablets in case of radiation exposure with the global threats that are taking place right now. That is linked in the description below as well. You want to have those handy for protection for your thyroid from radiation. And it's not super expensive either. Those little tablets, like $15, and you can have some ready to go. And for all ages, if you've got a household with children, there's another one down there. It's $20. And I mean, just $20 to have some tablets on hand. That's great. Now, if you want the entire Lifesaver Vault package that we have, check that one out. I believe you can get it in all 50 states now. My team has worked with every doctor, and we have pharmacists in 50 states. They can see if they can help you out if you want to have backup medication kits in case things go awry in the United States. But Swivelhead Medic, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, from birds to seals to cattle to people in less than 12 months, anyone who had a high school biology knows evolution doesn't occur like that. That's a great point. Thank you for that $5 super chat. Let me know if you agree with Swivelhead. And also, I saw somebody hit the join button. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel, Jason Casper, for that monthly contribution and support. Not necessary, but greatly appreciated. That also helps out a ton. As a result, not only will the articles be referenced in the description, they're also going to pop up in your feed. Anybody that hits that join button, I think it's like, I can't remember, it was like $3 a month, $5 a month, whatever that little help is. I appreciate it. As a result, just a little thank you. You'll see also all of my sources for every single video and live stream pop up in your feed as well, so you can click those hyperlinks and go right to it. But let's go ahead and get you caught up on some video footage so you can see what's going on. As I mentioned, we're going to look at some different ones here. They're going to give us some updates on this mutation, so that way you know exactly what's going on as of today, December 30th, 2024, as they are warning that the bird flu looks like it's mutating, and experts are concerned about a potential P2P or person-to-person spread that could take place. Let's go ahead and take a look at this so that way you can see it for yourself.
Concerning new CDC report on the first severe human case of bird flu in the U.S. Samples taken from a patient in Louisiana show mutations that could make it easier for this virus to spread from person to person. Now, right now, there's no evidence it's been passed along to anyone else, and the CDC says risk to the public remains low. But experts warn a single mutation like this could potentially lead to another pandemic.
The virus may mutate and become more easily transmitted person to person. So the more this virus circulates, and specifically co-circulates with human strains, that's going to increase the odds of the virus evolving to more human-to-human transmission. And that of course, could signal another pandemic.
Joining us now is Dr. Deborah Birx. You may remember her as the response coordinator for the White House Coronavirus Task Force in the first Trump administration. We are very fortunate to have your expertise as we try to figure out what's going on with the bird flu and what it could mean. So far, 65 human cases of bird flu have been reported in the U.S. this year, all contracted by animals. But now we have this new mutation in Louisiana. How worried should we be about bird flu potentially becoming another pandemic?
Well, I love the way you said 63 cases, because I have no idea how many cases there were or are, because our number one principle in preventing pandemics is detect. And if you go to the CDC website, you can see that they're monitoring more than 10,000 exposures, but they've only tested 530. What does that mean? That means we're not testing enough. And we know from other viruses that a lot of the spread can be asymptomatic. So we kind of have our head in the sand about how widespread this is from the zoonotic standpoint, from the animal to human standpoint. Now, also remember, most of those cases described to date happened in the spring and the summer. Not when we had H1N1 circulating right now, when we're running the flu pandemic with throughout the United States. So we have rising flu cases, and now we have still zoonotic events coming. So now you've set up for potentially a farm worker getting H5N1, also getting the current flu strain, and reassorting in that individual. To me, that's almost a bigger threat to these mutations happening in individuals over time.
When you say reassorting in that person, what does that mean?
Okay, so the H5 virus, which doesn't adapt too well to our upper respiratory tract and is preventing us from getting infected, but it's affecting cows and pigs and cats and dogs. So our flu, which has the binding sites for us, for our nasal passages. Viruses are very specific, and so they're very animal or human specific. Now we have human flu circulating. At the same time, we have this zoonotic flu circulating.
And the zoonotic is for our viewers again, the
bird flu, yes.
Okay.
So we have the animal flu, let's call it the animal flu, and now we have human flu co-circulating. And at any time, someone could get both of those unknowingly. And particularly in California, where all the dairy workers now are getting exposed, flu is rising in the south and into California. So we should be monitoring carefully that dual exposure, because if you get both of the flus at the same time, the H5 flu, the bird flu, could get the genes from the human flu and make it infectious to humans in the same way that our current flu is.
And it could be it could become infectious to humans even if it's not coexisting with the human flu, right?
Well, if it mutates like it did in this individual,
like in the Louisiana
or
case.
in the case in Canada, but that sometimes is a random, slower process.
Okay.
But if you have that co-infection, then you can share genes.
Okay.
And that's to me, the spring and the summer, where we had all of the dairy cattle to farm worker exposure, we didn't have human flu circulating. So now we're entering a much more dangerous period, yet we're still not testing. And we should be providing tests free of charge to dairy farm workers so they can test anonymously weekly, because they'll want to know if they have both cases of potential flus co-circulating in their own body to protect their families. People are very smart. I find the American public to be incredibly smart. If you tell them the risk and you give them the tools, they will utilize them to protect themselves and their family.
So, given this double whammy that you laid out, do you think it's just a matter of time until there's just a full-fledged pandemic here?
Well, certainly we're setting ourselves up for that potential, which, I flash back to January of 2020, and I'm hearing the same words come out of the CDC.
Like what?
Low risk of human-to-human transmission. Didn't we hear that from the WHO and the CDC about COVID? So I think our way through this is to use 21st century technology. Remember, it was the private sector that gave us tests within weeks. We went from 20,000 tests to 2 million tests. So if we got the private sector engaged in our response, they would help us get tests out to all of the dairy farms, all the poultry farms, where they could test both the chickens and the people exposed to the chickens, and then we would know how far spread this virus was. Right now, we're just looking for symptoms again. We should never be tracking viruses through symptoms. You don't see a virus through a symptoms. You see the virus through the test. And we know from COVID, most of the spread was asymptomatic. If we had been testing in January, as many other countries were, we wouldn't have had the spread that we had. So I'm hoping we learn from.
But it sounds like it doesn't. It sounds like from what
worried.
you're laying out, you don't think this country has learned from the COVID pandemic.
And
there's not a sense of urgency right now.
Our
that should
agencies
match the
are
moment.
making the same mistakes they made with COVID. The number 2 principle of pandemic is detect. And the only way to detect for viruses is to test. You cannot see a virus through symptoms. You miss so many cases. Yet we're still talking about flu-like illness. Well, there is no flu-like illness. There's RSV, respiratory syncytial virus that causes croup. Parents know what that is. There's mycoplasma pneumonia circulating right now. There's flu circulating right now, and soon there'll be COVID circulating. Those are all coughy respiratory illnesses that look the same. We should not be tracking illnesses by symptoms. We should track them only by testing so that parents know whether their child has RSV or flu so they can protect their grandparents. And the grandparents can know whether they have RSV or flu or COVID because flu and COVID are treatable. So we need diagnostic tests out there. And I know if CMS tomorrow said, you know what, we're not going to pay for that doctor's visit unless you have a definitive diagnosis, we'd have better respiratory tests within 4 weeks because our private sector will respond. If there's a need and there's a way to be reimbursed, they will make the product.
I want to turn to kind of looking ahead to Trump's picks to lead the nation's health agencies. As you know, some of them are controversial. At HHS, you have vaccine skeptic RFK Jr., also a big advocate for raw milk. At NIH, by the way, the raw milk is relevant to the bird flu discussion, so that's why I brought that up. At NIH, a doctor who criticized COVID lockdowns. At FDA, a doctor who said the government was the, quote, greatest perpetrator of misinformation during COVID. Do people like this concern you about our preparedness for another pandemic? What's your take?
What I'm really hoping happens is what these individuals represent is a lot of what the American people are thinking right now. So instead of burying our head in the sand and acting like they're over there by themselves and there's not a lot of people who think that way, we need to bring everybody into the same discussion. Hopefully that will happen in the hearings, where we can hear from the individuals and there can be that exchange. And out of that can come people moving more towards the center of the response that we need. There were states that probably over lockdown. And we just have to admit that and say, what are we going to do? Where is our school guidance for the next pandemic? That's what we need. We need practical school guidance. I was out on the road keeping universities and schools open. How did we do it? Testing. Once a week testing, didn't quarantine, just removed the acute cases, and they didn't have any campus spread. So we know how to do it, but we're not using everything that we learned and applying it, because now we're just arguing about individuals on either side rather than saying, let's find a practical place in the middle where we can all agree this is going to be our response. This is how we can keep the schools open. And it really comes down to being able to see what viruses are circulating. That's why I keep coming back to testing.
So obviously you think testing was a miss the first time around, and you think it's a miss right now.
I do.
What were some other lessons learned? Things that, as in hindsight's 2020, as they say, you would have done differently the first time around as we look ahead to the potential, and I don't want to fearmonger, but there is the potential of another pandemic here with the bird flu. What do you think the lessons learned should be applied to that? And what should we all be doing right now? I mean, should we just avoid, it's the holidays, should we avoid gathering with a lot of people? What do we do?
No, I think, to me, testing is fundamental. Because I have my children test and I have the grandchildren test, because we're still protecting people. My mother is 96. She hasn't gotten COVID. She's been in a multi-generational household. So all of these things are possible if you give people the information that they need to protect each other. And I think of what we learned anything from the last pandemic, education is much more important than mandating.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree or do you disagree? I saw a lot of people saying that they will not go along with another pandemic. Yet you heard the expert there saying that she believes that we potentially could be on the verge of this, but a lot of people saying, I'm not going for it. I actually saw the comment made while we were live, somebody saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Let me know if you agree with that, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you would go for that. As you heard them say, you literally heard that person say that we potentially could be looking at another pandemic here if this spreads person to person. And she said that right now, with all of the viruses that are taking place, if somebody contracts the regular flu along with this bird flu, that it could mutate like we're seeing with this individual in Louisiana that they're warning, and then it could go person to person. And they're saying that this could be very dangerous, and they are saying that this could be the next pandemic. And we heard the experts saying, did we not get learn our lesson from the last one? And they're saying we can get ahead of this. We already have a proven vaccine that people can take, so that way it doesn't spread. Yet people are saying, I'm done with vaccines. And you literally heard them say that right now the Trump administration, he has on there RFK Jr., who is anti-vaccine. Let me know, do you agree with RFK Jr., who is saying no vaccines, not taking them, not going to have it? Let me know if you agree. If so, put a 47 because that is a part of Trump's administration. If you think, no, we need vaccines, put a V in the comments. And again, they're saying that this is very different than COVID-19 because they're saying that, hey, this one this is not a rushed vaccination process. But a lot of people just saying, hey, we're not having it and we're not doing the vaccines. Like I said, let me know if you agree. No vaccines, put a 47. If you think we need vaccines, put a V. Let me know your thoughts. And I'm seeing 47s rolling in. People saying that they agree with RFK Jr. No vaccines. Not going to have it this time around if this escalates to this situation. Now, she said she didn't want to fearmonger. She said that, but there is that potential that this could mutate as they're concerned about the mutation that we're hearing about that's taking place right now. Now, like I said, this came out in roughly the last 48 to 72 hours. I'm going to continue to keep you up to speed on all of this so you know exactly what's going on. And I saw a lot of people saying this is coming from CNN. They're concerned about the sources. I'm sharing with you all the sources. I've also got one here from Fox News, and I've got another one that I'm going to be sharing with you from ABC, and another one from Face the Nation. As this has been coming out, like I said, roughly the past 2 days. Let's take a look at some more information coming out on this so you can see it as they're saying. But a lot of people are just saying, I've had enough. I've had enough. We already had this 4 years ago. We're not going to have it again. And they're saying, how is it that it's happening yet again 4 years later, right as we're about to enter into a transition period of power? A lot of people very concerned about that as well, saying, isn't that convenient? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but let's take a look at this so you can see it for yourself. The video footage coming out as they're saying there is a mutated strain of the bird flu hitting.
Next tonight, a potentially troubling new development about the bird flu. The CDC reporting that the virus mutated inside a severely ill patient in the U.S., which could make the disease easier to spread. But no transmissions to other people have been reported, and the CDC says the risk to the general public remains low. Here's ABC's Phil Lipoff.
Tonight, the Centers for Disease Control finding potentially concerning new mutations in the bird flu from a patient recently hospitalized with a serious case of the virus.
The CDC found that this version of the virus had additional mutations that made it attach to upper airway cells more easily, hinting at a better ability to infect people. That being said, this was only found in the individual that was sick, and there's no reason to believe that this version of the virus is spread more broadly.
But the agency making it clear that the risk to the general public has not changed and remains low. The CDC has confirmed at least 65 cases of bird flu in people in the U.S. this year.
They're monitoring more than 10,000 exposures, but they've only tested 530. What does that mean? That means we're not testing enough. And we know from other viruses that a lot of the spread can be asymptomatic.
For now, the greatest risk may be to animals. Earlier this week, the death of a house cat in Oregon prompting a pet food company to voluntarily recall a batch of its raw frozen pet food that tested positive for the virus.
There's no reason to believe that this version of the virus is spread more broadly in the population, and we've yet to see any person-to-person transmission, which is a good sign that we still have this virus under control.
And officials in California have actually issued a state of emergency over the bird flu at dairy farms and are asking people to avoid raw dairy products. Wait.
Phil Lipoff for us.
There you have it, you guys. Now, also, as he just mentioned, this has been made a state of emergency in California. They're saying that this is becoming very severe, as we're seeing, I think it's like roughly 37, almost 40 cases in people, and dairy farms across California just full of the bird flu right now. And there's concerns about drinking raw milk right now as well. And in fact, raw milk bird flu, that particular search is just trending everywhere as people are concerned about this in the dairy farms as it is spread. It's spread all over to animals. As you heard them mention, there's concerns about your animals and the food that they're getting, house pets getting sick with the bird flu. They're saying that this is spreading all over quite a bit. Now, in addition to that, like I said, let me share with you one coming out from Fox News on an update as to what is going on, as they're now saying that this is mutating and they're concerned about this spreading and becoming a bigger situation. And people saying they're concerned about, as you saw from CNN, a potentially 2025 pandemic. But they're saying we can get ahead of this. There shouldn't be concerns. Yet the current administration saying, well, RFK Jr. is anti-vaccination. So we're going to see what happens here. But this coming out, like I said, let me play it for you so you can see it for yourself. Just the latest updates coming out in the roughly past 2-3 days.
The CDC says the bird flu has mutated as a 65-year-old patient in Louisiana is suffering the nation's first severe infection. The agency maintains that the risk of a widespread outbreak remains low. Let's go to Christina Coleman now with the very latest on this. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Griff. The CDC says a genetic analysis indicated that a mutation of the virus was discovered inside a Louisiana patient. This person contracted the first severe case of H5N1 in the nation. The patient is one of the 66 confirmed bird flu cases in humans in 10 states across the U.S., including California, Michigan, and Texas. There was no evidence that the Louisiana patient passed the illness to anyone else. Health experts say the genetic analysis from the Louisiana patient indicates the virus evolved in a way that can make it more transmissible to humans because it more easily binds to the cell receptors in the upper respiratory tract.
Flu mutates very easily. There's 8 places on a flu molecule where it can mutate. H5 is a type of the molecule where it attaches to human cells or animal cells. That's never gone human to human.
Symptoms of the virus include cough, sore throat, and trouble breathing. Health officials say the Louisiana patient, who was hospitalized in critical condition, suffered severe respiratory symptoms after coming in contact with either infected or dead birds in a backyard flock. Nearly all of the 66 confirmed human cases involve people who were infected after working on dairy or poultry farms. California has had at least 650 dairy farms with cows infected with the bird flu, more than any other state.
I'm much more concerned about California than anywhere. California worries me because of all the spread in cattle in California. That's absolutely unprecedented, and that's why we have a level of alert here, and we need to be vigilant.
Also, some house cats and at least 22 large cats in zoos and animal sanctuaries have died after contracting the bird flu. But again, the CDC says the risk to the general public remains low. Griff?
Christina Coleman following that story for us. Christina, thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And we are hearing that right now there is major concern about what is going on in California, as they're saying that California is at a major risk for this with all the dairy farms. There's over 37 cases now just in California alone. It is spreading significantly. State of emergency announced by Gavin Newsom. And also they're saying, hey, there is potential now with the case that just came up in Louisiana for a person-to-person spread. They have confirmed that there was a mutation that took place in that case, and experts are warning about person-to-person concerns because they're saying that right now we're in the middle of flu season. If someone were to contract this along with other types of viruses, that then it could mutate into something that could be transmissible from person to person. So concerns about that right now at this present time. And like I said, I'm sharing with you different news sources coming out on this because we have one from CNN, one from ABC, wanted to share with you one from Fox News, and another one because, like I said, this is all coming out in roughly the past 2 or 3 days as we're seeing the concerns of this spreading, because this is typically something that animals get. It is very rare to see this in people. But now we're starting to see it quite a bit popping up as we're seeing that this bird flu has spread all across the nation in dairy farms. They're saying in poultry, and there's concerns about drinking raw milk. And now they're saying that with this latest mutation, they're concerned that this could be going in the route of person to person. And that first expert warned and said, this could be the next pandemic. And she said, I don't want to fearmonger or cause anybody any alarm or concern because it's not going person to person. But if it does, she said, this could be really serious. And she said, did we not learn our lesson from the last pandemic with COVID-19? And she said, we actually have pre-approved set vaccines in place that we can go ahead and take at this time. However, a lot of people, like I said, saying, no, thank you. done with vaccines, don't want to hear any of it. In fact, we're hearing the current administration, RFK Jr., saying anti-vaxxer, not into any vaccines whatsoever. Let your immune system handle it, is what he's saying. So let me know your thoughts. Very differing opinions on this, and they're saying that this is not a repeat of before. This is different. We've had bird flu. There's vaccines available. Some people saying, well, still just not even interested. And then, of course, there's this question that is being raised as well, and that is, if it's mutating, are the previous vaccines going to be able to resist a mutated version of this? Kind of like how we saw with COVID. A lot of people saying that as it mutated from the Alpha variant to the Delta to the Omicron to all of these different ones, some of the vaccines started to no longer be effective. Is that going to be the case with the bird flu as well? Let me know in the comments. Would you take a bird flu vaccine? If you would, put yes. If you not, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, I'm going to play for you some more updates that have just been coming out on this, but before I do me a favor also, while you're putting yes or no in the comments, hit that like button for me. Help spread this out further so more people can get the latest updates and information. Like I said, I'm just presenting for you what is coming out so you can see it for yourself. These articles are going to be linked down in the description below. I cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it so you can see the latest information coming out, and you can make the best decisions for you and your family. And I'm seeing overwhelmingly no in the comments. People are saying they will not be taking any vaccines for the bird flu. And I saw a lot of people saying that they are not going to be putting up with another pandemic coming out, even though we have these warnings from the CDC. People are saying no, thank you on that. Sativa Diva says, you're the best, Steve. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Rachel says, I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, and I'm just seeing tons of no's right now. In fact, I don't see any yeses for taking a bird flu vaccine right now in the comments. So do me a favor. Again, if you appreciate the updates, knowing what's going on, take a second, hit that like button. Just need 6 more to get 800 while we're live. That would be great. But let's take a look at this video footage so that way you can see it for yourself. More updates coming out regarding this mutated strain of the bird flu. And they are saying, experts are warning of a pandemic, fears of a pandemic in 2025 in a person-to-person spread. Has not been done yet, but they're saying it looks like it could be very close. Take a look.
Last week, the U.S. reported its first severe case of bird flu found in a patient in Louisiana. For more, we're joined by Dr. Leana Wen. She is the former Baltimore Health Commissioner. Dr. Leana Wen, it's great to have you with us. So, bird flu. Is this report out of Louisiana worrisome? And if so, why?
Well, it's one more sign that the drumbeat of bird flu coming closer to humans is becoming a major threat. So we've already seen this year that there have been a number of mammalian species close to humans that now have bird flu outbreaks. We have outbreaks in poultry in all 50 states. 16 states have outbreaks in cattle. In California, in the last 30 days, there have been more than 300 herds that tested positive. And now we have 66 cases of bird flu in humans. And this is almost certainly a significant undercount because we have not been doing nearly enough testing, so we really don't know the extent of bird flu that's out there in humans. But this particular case, it's someone who is severely ill, but not only that, researchers have isolated the virus in this individual who is sick in Louisiana, and they found that this particular strain of the virus appears to have acquired mutations that make it more likely to bind to airway receptors. Bird flu has been around for a long time.
About 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. But it hasn't been a major issue in humans because while it spreads among birds, it hasn't really spread among mammals. But now there is this mutation. And there's another concern now, major too, which is that we're in flu season. And it's possible that a single person could have bird flu and seasonal flu at the same time.
Something called reassortment.
That's right.
Where things change because of one illness becoming another illness through reassortment of a mutated virus.
That's right. And so the viruses could exchange genes. You could develop a new hybrid virus. And if you now have a virus that's more contagious and causes more severe disease, that's when it becomes a major threat to humankind.
What should be happening in the Biden administration right now that isn't going on?
Yeah, there are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Dr. Wen, is bird flu in humans super dangerous?
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu, that the mortality rate is 52%. 52%. However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the U.S. have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
30 seconds. Norovirus is what you call it. Stomach bug is what I would call it. Numbers are surging. It's the holidays. What should people do to protect themselves?
Wash your hands really well, especially if you're going to buffets. Wash your hands if you're touching commonly touched surfaces before you touch your mouth, before you touch your nose. Norovirus is the most common foodborne illness here in the U.S. It's very hard to avoid once it's in your family. And also don't prepare food if you're having vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps, because you don't want to spread it to other people.
Dr. Leana Wen, thank you so much for your expertise. We really appreciate it. Welcome back to Face the Nation. We return to our conversation with Dr. Leana Wen. Doctor, you talked about vaccines and testing in the context of bird flu and preparations. Therefore, vaccines and testings were part of the COVID conversation and the Trump administration when it was in charge. What level of concern do you have about some of the people appointed by President-elect Trump to incoming public health positions regarding issues of vaccine, testing, public health efficacy?
I think that there are some people coming into this administration who are very competent. For example, Dr. Marty Makary, a Johns Hopkins surgeon. We have worked together for the last 10 plus years on issues like hospital medical error. He's an independent thinker who really listens to science and is willing to change his mind when there is new evidence that emerges. But I have a lot of concern, and I've spoken to my colleagues in medicine and public health, and I think all of us share this concern, in particular about Robert F. Kennedy, the nominee to be the head of Health and Human Services. Kennedy has espoused many views in the past that are anti-vaccine. In fact, he's been one of the leading anti-vaccine advocates in the country, if not in the world, over the last couple of decades. He's also someone who has made his career from being an activist and not a scientist. And what I mean is that if you're a scientist, even if you have deeply held convictions, you should be willing to change your mind if there are new facts that are presented. It's a fact that childhood vaccines are safe and they are life-saving. A CDC analysis just now found that the childhood vaccinations have saved over 1.1 million children's lives over the last 20 years. According to a Lancet study, childhood vaccines saved 154 million lives globally over the last 50 years. I mean, these are facts. And it's very concerning to have someone who doesn't believe in how science works, in basic scientific principles, to be in charge of our nation's preeminent scientific and medical agencies.
With that perspective, do you believe it's more imperative than you described earlier for the Biden administration to move forward on bird flu vaccinations and testing?
Well, that's exactly it. I don't want to wait for the Trump administration to potentially hold up the vaccines, saying that they want more evidence. Look, evidence is always good and facts are always good. New research is always good. but you also have to weigh that against a potential catastrophe, as we could be having for bird flu, the way that we had for COVID. There's no reason why we should hold off on getting more testing. We need to know how much bird flu there is out there. We need to know if there are new mutations that are being developed. Other countries also need to know so that they can prepare as well. And I think it's a major problem that in the US, we have been holding back on testing and also holding back on getting the vaccines deployed that are already developed.
Dr. Leana Wen, thank you so much for your expertise. Thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, as they are warning about this, saying that this could be something that spreads. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you on board with this? They said that there's a vaccine in place, that we can get ahead of this. You heard her talking about RFK and how he's an anti-vaxxer. And she said that he has made his career off of being an activist, not a scientist. So she's kind of discrediting him there. And so taking a strong stance against it. So again, on some of these channels here, we're seeing these medical experts coming out and saying, we have vaccines. We need to get ahead of this. This is not like COVID-19 where we're rushing to get out some sort of formula out to the public without knowing if it's ready. They're saying this is something we've had for over 30 years. We got a vaccine. Let's go ahead and do this. Yet at the same time, a lot of people like RFK Jr. saying, no, thank you. Vaccinations don't want any part of it. And I'm not taking whatever it is that you guys are saying is going on. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I see we've got people in here, new people coming in. If they provide a vaccine to the public for a potential bird flu spread that, as they're saying, has mutated, could go person to person, will you be taking it? Let me know, yes or no. But I'm hearing a lot of people in the comments saying, no, thank you, along with RFK Jr., who is saying, no vaccines. Thank you very much. But like I said, regardless of what happens, I'll keep you up to speed here on the channel so you know exactly what is taking place, because this has been coming out in roughly the past 2-3 days now, as we are hearing that this case in Louisiana, this has been spreading it all over in the animals in the United States. Now people are starting to contract it from the animals. 37 cases in California, and now this one in Louisiana, they're saying it is a mutated strain. And they are very concerned about it. They're saying that it can latch on, I guess, to, I forget what, you heard her say it, the details of it, and that they're concerned that it could mutate into a virus that could spread person to person. So experts are warning against this and saying we need to get ahead of this. We've got vaccines for it. But again, a lot of people saying we are not going to put up with another pandemic. 2025 pandemic, bird flu going person to person. People are saying, oh, well, not going to do vaccinations because we've been through this before. Not going to have it. So varying opinions on this. But right now in the chat, the vast majority of people are saying, no, not going to have it. Not going to do it. And that is actually, I think, the opinion of a lot of people right now after what unfolded with COVID-19 and of RFK. And that is, hey, let your immune system do the work. Let's go ahead and build up resistance against it as opposed to vaccinations. But you heard her say that in the past, the bird flu, it can be fatal in roughly 50% of cases. 1 out of 2 people don't make it. But she said that the more recent one that they're seeing, that people are starting to contract right now, that it's significantly lower than that. She's saying it's much more mild. It's not fatal in a lot of the cases. So like I said, though, we will see. I will keep you up to speed on this because this has been coming out past couple of days, and they're saying that they're concerned about a mutation that could spread person to person. Now, regardless of what unfolds, if this starts to ramp up or it doesn't, whatever happens, I'll keep you up to speed here on the channel so that way you know exactly what is going on. And I see somebody saying January 20th can't come soon enough, says All American Dad. Yeah, we are right around the corner from a transition of power. We are, 1 day, 2 days away from a new year. And there is a lot going on. We also have conflicts taking place. If you missed my live stream earlier this morning, you're going to want to check it out, as today, breaking news coming out that in the last 24 hours, North Korea threatening the United States as well, saying they're going to be tough and they're going to have anti-American policies. We're hearing that they have been emboldened in their unification with Russia, that a lot of the adversaries of the United States are pushing an anti-America policy. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, unifying, helping each other out. And man, there is a lot going on. So let me know. Do you agree? Do you think January 20th can't come soon enough? If so, drop a 47 in the comments. because a lot of people concerned, and I actually shared with you that video footage just a couple days ago that came out from that interview with, excuse me, Mr. Gordon Chang. And he came out and he said that he believes that China is preparing for attacks on the U.S., on our soil, that the American people are not ready for what's coming. And he said he believes that there could be an attack that could be prepped and ready to go before January 20th, before Trump gets into office. So we will see. Now, regardless, like I said, let us pray and hope that none of that unfolds. But I will keep you up to speed here on the channel on everything so that way you know exactly what is taking place. And again, do me a favor, if you appreciate that, if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit that like button for me, subscribe to stay up to date. And also thank you for all the people that hit the join button. I see we got Jimmy the Kid, we got Aaron Marshall, we've got several people in here that are a part of the Ram Fam. Thank you for hitting that join button, helping out with those monthly contributions. Not necessary, but greatly appreciated. And as a result, not only will all of the sources for my videos be linked in the description, but they're also going to pop up in your feed so you can see all of those hyperlinks, click them, try to cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it so that way you can see the latest information and know that it is the latest. Ingrid Stewart also, thank you. And she's put in a 47 saying Trump can't get in here fast enough. But like I said, I'll keep you guys up to speed. That is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless.